It's chicken noodle soup time. So today we're going to get started with our chicken noodle soup recipe for Culinary 1 and Culinary 2. If you're following along at home, I am not going to be posting this recipe in the comments because I want my students to follow along in the video and write down the recipe so that, because this is a little bit more complicated than the previous soups that we've done, and I want everyone to be paying attention and to know exactly what's going on at each part of the recipe so that they will be prepared. So take good notes. All right, so I've got some of my prep work done. I have my mise en place here on my station. I've got my mirepoix for my veggies done. This is celery, carrots, and onion, all chopped up or sliced. And so what you'll need is two stalks of celery, thinly sliced, about two medium to large carrots, and you'll want those to be a medium to small dice, and then one onion, and that is going to be a medium dice as well. And in this herb bowl here, I have about 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley. If you don't have fresh parsley or don't want to buy fresh parsley, but you have some dried, then use about half of that amount. I've also got a little over a teaspoon of garlic, half a teaspoon of thyme, and half a teaspoon of oregano. All right, and then I've also got some chicken cubed over here. About 2 chicken breasts will be enough for this recipe. I have 4 cups of chicken broth. I actually used 4 bouillon cubes and 4 cups of water and dissolved that to make my own chicken broth. But 4 cups of chicken broth will do. And then also some seasonings. I like to season as I go at each part of the recipe. So I'm going to season my chicken when I cook that as well. So whatever you like to put on that, salt, pepper. I've got some paprika that I'm going to use. And then also 4 tablespoons of butter and 4 tablespoons of flour to make a roux, because this is going to be a thicker style of chicken noodle soup rather than a thin brothy soup. We also need 1.5 cups of egg noodles, and those should be boiled and drained and then just set aside. We're going to actually put those in at the very end. So that's all the stuff that I have. And we're going to first get started by cooking our chicken. So I'm going to turn my pan here on to medium. And I'm going to add a little bit of oil, vegetable oil, olive oil, whatever, about 1 tablespoon will probably be enough. I'm going to let that heat, and then I'm going to add my chicken. While that's cooking, I'm also going to be doing my roux. I'm going to be multitasking. If you do not want to multitask, you do not have to. You can do this one step at a time, and that will be perfectly fine. So 4 tablespoons of butter go into a small pot on the stove, and I'm going to turn that on and get it melted. A roux is meant to thicken, and it is the same amount of fat to flour ratio, and so 1-to-1 fat to flour ratio that is cooked on the stove until for just a couple of minutes, depending on what you're making. If you're going to make a dark sauce or gravy, then you would want it to cook longer to get more color. If you're going to make something that's lighter or a white gravy, then you would cook it less time. We're making chicken noodle soup, so we're going to cook ours only for about 2 minutes. So after this butter has completely melted, then I'm going to add the flour. I'm going to whisk it and cook it for about 2 minutes. So feels like my oil is heating up pretty nicely in my pan here. So I'm going to add my cubed chicken. Now you could cook chicken breast or get a rotisserie chicken as well if you want to. I had this frozen, And so I thawed it and cut it up in cubes so it would cook faster for the demo. All right, let's spread that out in the pan. I'm going to wash my hands just in case I got any chicken on my hands. And make sure that we're being very good about not cross-contaminating. All right. And then I'm just going to hit this with just a little bit of salt. Would help if I took the lid off the salt. A little bit of salt. A little pepper. And a little bit of paprika. And you can use whatever you like to season your chicken. I just like that the paprika gives it kind of a smoky flavor. All right. And then I'm just going to keep an eye on this and kind of stir it every now and then so that it does not get burned, and so all parts of the chicken get done. All right, so my butter is nearly melted and I've got a whisk here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my flour to my butter all at one time. And then I'm just going to stir it up, whisk it up. And cook that for about 2 minutes. All right, we're gonna take a break, and when I come back, the chicken will be done, the roux will be done, and then we'll move on to the next step. My chicken and roux are finished now, and my roux kind of looks like this. It is, it's kind of thick. If yours is a little bit thicker than that, that's fine. If yours is a lot thinner than that, that's probably too thin. You may have mismeasured your flour or your butter, and in which case during the cooking process you can just throw just a little bit more flour in there and stir that in. So now if you're a good multitasker, you could have been doing this step along the way with your chicken and roux, but I wanted to have my pot over here in view of the camera, so I didn't want to do this step or overwhelm anyone either. So the next thing I'm going to do, I've got my pot on medium heat. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of oil into the pot. Let that heat up, and once that is heated, I'm going to saute my vegetables for just a few minutes until they are tender. Probably about 5 minutes might work, at least until the onion is completely translucent. All right, so I think this is heated. I'm gonna get my vegetables into the pan. You can tell that it's heated once that has started sizzling as soon as you add the vegetables in there. You always want to start with a hot pan. All right. Put that away for washing later. Take my spoon, give that a stir. If this is starting to look too dry, then you could always add just a touch of oil to it. But I'm gonna let this saute for about 5 minutes. The mirepoix vegetables have been cooking, and they are The carrots are kind of still a little bit crunchy, and so is a little bit of the celery, but that's okay because they're going to continue to cook when we put in chicken broth and the rest of the things. So what you really want to look for is that the onion is translucent, and you don't want a whole lot of color on them. So mine are just now starting to, I can see some specks of color, so I want to stop and go ahead and add the rest of my stuff. I'm going to add my chicken broth. All of my herbs, garlic, give that a little stir. Add my chicken that's already been cooked. And my roux. All right, I'm gonna give that a stir. And I want to bring this up to a boil and then reduce it down to simmer and cook this for about 20 minutes. And while this is cooking and simmering for 20 minutes, I'm also going to cook my egg noodles. I've got my water already started to boil over here. I got that done while my vegetables were sauteing. And so I'm gonna add my egg noodles, cook those, drain them during the 20 minutes that this is cooking. I believe this chicken soup has simmered to perfection, so it has thickened up a little bit. It's not your traditional soup, chicken noodle soup, but we're gonna put these egg noodles in. They have already been cooked and drained. I'm just gonna stir those in. And I'm done. Take my ladle, dish up some of this yummy goodness. I'm going to put just a little bit of parsley on the top for a garnish. And then of course I like to have butter crackers with mine. You can also use some saltines, but there you go. Chicken noodle soup. It's one of the best I've ever had. My husband, who does not like soup usually in general, loves this soup. So I hope you enjoy making it and that you've enjoyed cooking classes with Miss Woodruff, and I'll see you next time. Bye.